What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark, MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today I'm going to talk to you about apple cider vinegar. Its health benefits. Should you drink it in mass quantities, all at once, partially, mix it with things, apple cider vinegar gummies, or should you just watch the limited series on Netflix called Apple Cider Vinegar, starring Caitlin Dever and Alicia Debney Carey? Probably do the second thing, I would think, would be the good call. This has audio description, so I was able to watch it because I'm a blind film critic, so accessibility is important to me at a time when companies can't run fast enough away from diversity, equity, inclusivity, because for some reason, it's okay to take away what little I have in life. So please stand up and say stop doing that. Anyway, apple cider vinegar does have audio description. It's an Australian series. It's based on the true story of Belle Gibson, who, frustratingly enough, you won't learn in this as much as you want in this series over 6 episodes. But she was an influencer who ended up running an empire called The Whole Pantry, where she got a book deal. All of her shtick was based on the fact that she had cancer and was living and fighting it through like a holistic lifestyle, no treatments. She was just, she was just, I don't know, juicing, you know what I'm saying, and eating healthy foods and supposedly beating cancer. Just sort of like a dangerous thing to put out there to the world as a fad if it's not true, which sort of is what other people find out. And where the series goes is sort of the ramifications of putting out all this misinformation into the world. But yeah, she's clearly cuckoo bananas, and or portrayed as cuckoo bananas by Caitlin Dever, who is doing a fantastic job here, as delivering a very sort of manic performance at times. And but there's something that's always very calculated about how Belle's able to maneuver through conversations while giving you the least amount of information or not really giving you an answer. And that's sort of why this story is interesting. It's the baby reindeer of 2025, because it's the kind of thing that I think it could pop and catch on social media when people realize what it is that they're watching, because it's so fascinating. And same thing with like Inventing Anna. Like when you watch these things, it's like, here's a social media influencer, and nobody ever stopped to actually say, give me your doctor's records. Stop talking. Give me your doctor's records. Yeah, she just sort of like weaves her way through, and she uses people for fundraising for supposedly, for charity, but that money never makes it to charity, never makes it to a nonprofit, never makes it anywhere like that. It just ends up being sent out into her pockets for her to do with as she pleases. She has a son in the movie who, I don't know, man. I don't think she's a good mom. Not sure about that. She's too self-involved to be one within the context of the show. It's funny because like the character that plays the boy's dad, the actual dad, makes a comment at some point where he's like, she's a good mom. And I'm like, no, she's where? At what point in this thing have you seen that from her? Like, her kid hates her, first of all. Her kid is basically raised by her partner. They're not even married. It's just she has this like longtime boyfriend in the show, and that's who's basically raising her son because she's too busy scamming her way up the food chain. So I don't know. And then like the couple times she has alone with her kid, it's just like, man, this is not a good relationship. It's not fun. Her kid hates her. So I just and it's even hard for me to say, and I think the producers are trying to navigate. I think there's Netflix is looking at Baby Reindeer and they're going, we have to watch ourselves because that lady, tried to come after us for whatever. So they're trying less and less to give you more um firm opinions on anything. So everything just, some things they just sort of leave unanswered, almost frustratingly so. And other things it's like, well, why don't you make up your mind? We're heavily suggesting something, but we're not saying it for sure. You know, they do let you know that she hasn't been paid for her work, which is important because it ties into some stuff, which I'll talk about. I'm going to talk about like the dead end of this series, but it's not actually how the series wraps up. So, one of the reasons that I'm very frustrated at the series is I think it cops out at the end. Uh, and after all is said and done, you know how in a movie you get that like the scroll sort of like of what happens after the fact, you know. In 2018, Belle went on to fly to the moon. In 2019, she fought in Jumanji. In 2020, she was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. You know, whatever it is. You get that scroll of like shit at how things, you know. It's often an effective scroll. Spotlight used it really well. I remember actually being able to see at the time and sitting in theaters for Spotlight. And I really hope, I don't know, I need to watch that movie with audio description because I have no idea what that ending is like for blind people, but it took my breath away in theaters. And that's just text at the end of the thing. That's all that is just text. This thing cops the fuck out and it moves on. This thing starts to do that, and then it cuts into a smash cut of Caitlin Dever going, Google it. And then they leave. And I'm like, no, you're the one that made the series. Why don't you tell us how it ended? It's not up to me to go off and to do research because you don't feel like answering the question of what happened to Belle on the fucking screen. Google it is not the answer to this thing. You stupid sons of bitches. That is the dumbest fucking way to end the series. I was really enjoying Apple Cider Vinegar, and then she just pops and she's like, Google it. And I was like, is that really? Did they really just cop out on being like, and you know, this is her court case. This is how her court case went. She went before a judge who decided to, like, you really want people to like do their own. The Wikipedia page is like flagged. It's one of those things where it warns you at the beginning where it's like, this has been flagged for having heavy inaccuracies. And there's like some forum where you can like discuss all the problems in the Belle Gibson, Wikipedia page. No, why can't you just summarize like every other thing that has ever come before you? What the fuck? Anyway, I hate the ending of this. Google it is the dumbest thing that I think I will see in 2025. It's so frustratingly stupid. It's like the last thing you want to hear at the end of the thing. Like, could you imagine like watching, put that on anything else? You know, I mean, like, she had real world consequences. You know, she lied about having cancer, and then people like believed her, and they stopped doing cancer treatments and then followed her health regimen, right? So, I mean, there were real world consequences to what she had to do, what she had to say. So this is important to some people. So, while not necessarily on the same scale, could you imagine like Steven Spielberg ended Schindler's List on Google it? Like, what happened? Google it. I don't know. You know, like, what happened in the Spotlight? I don't know. Google it. But I don't have to tell you. It's Google it. You know, I just, uh, if we approached every single movie like that with Google it, uh, I think people would realize how asinine it is. For some reason here, they felt like that was the appropriate way, and I push back on that, like hard. I hard push back on that to the creators of apple cider vinegar. I think it's one of the dumbest things I've seen in quite a long time, is to deny people the knowledge of the court case where she went before a court that essentially decided, I will summarize it for you. so, so it took a while. This was back in like 2015, 2016. It took a while for her to, there was an article that was released by a newspaper who you'll see the journalists working in the case. And in the within the context of the 6 episodes, you will see them asking her questions, and their story is released. And there's actually a close friend of Belle who sort of calls her on bullshit and is the first person to sort of alert everybody to it. And the cops won't investigate. Nobody wants to investigate her. But then this one journalist picks up the case and goes with it. And when that thing's released, it takes like a year before anybody files any formal charges on Belle for like fraud and all that kind of stuff, for taking money and then like where to go. And then when she ends up in front of a judge, the trial goes in a way that essentially says that she's somewhat liable, but also not criminally, because they can't prove that she's not crazy. Essentially, that's what that is. It's like there's something that you can't prove that she wasn't delusional, that she wasn't living in a delusional fantasy, that they couldn't prove intent. You know what I'm saying? So she's fined, and from what I can tell, it just seems like they've been trying to get the fines from her, and they keep going in and seizing her property, and every couple of years, and she hasn't paid the stuff that she was owed. Doesn't seem like she spent time in jail, from what I was able to find. This is what happens when you Google things. So it's kind of a frustrating ending. Very sort of anticlimactic, is that she didn't really... to that judge, I would say, I would hope that maybe, I just haven't found that you also remanded her to a healthcare facility for mental treatments, because if your suggestion is that she got away with all of this because she might be having mental problems, then I would think that you would remand her, at least for a minimum amount of time, into the care and custody of health professionals to look at her and to help her with her crisis that you believed her to be in. If you just set her back out into the world, you basically said, I think this girl might be crazy, but we're going to set her free into the world and see what happens, which kind of makes me wonder about Australia. But that's neither here nor there. I'm just, again, I wasn't given a firm ending to the series, and Google be Google, and they give you all sorts of results from all sorts of websites, and there you go. The Wikipedia page is acknowledged as being full of lies. I don't know if Belle's just like reporting her own Wikipedia page or what, but that's apple cider vinegar. Should you watch it? I think you should. I think it's an interesting series, and it'll get you fired up and angry about something. So sometimes those series are good, and you'll be like, oh my god, how did she do this thing? People. That was well described. Mostly Caitlin Dever steals the show, although Alicia Debney-Carey certainly has an episode that kind of breaks your heart. The rest of the cast just floats through doing fine work, but I couldn't pick a standout out of anybody else. So I would kind of stick with, I think if this series goes anywhere for an Emmy nomination, it's going to be Caitlin Dever and lead actress. So, yep. I like the audio description, and I'm going to give apple cider vinegar, I'm going to give it a B+. I downgraded it a little bit because of that fucking Google it. I would have probably given it an A-, but nope. I'm frustrated that at the end of the series, when they thought they could explain things, they were like, nah, we don't want to go to the trouble, so we're going to tap out. All right. Thank you for that. Enjoy the lower grade. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And remember, inclusivity is not a bad word. I'll see you guys on the other side.